Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, where positive parenting meets well-being. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Positively Healthy Mom. I'm your host, Laura Ollinger, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest, Alyx. And so Alyx, tell us your full name, where you're from, and what you do for work.
Hi, I'm Alyx Coble-Frakes. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I am from Iowa. I'm in Des Moines, hanging out in the Midwest here. So I'm super excited to be with you today. And I am a period entrepreneur. So I help women and menstruators understand the phases of their cycle to increase their productivity and as a mechanism to increase their overall health and wellness, because the menstrual cycle impacts everything we do. So I'm super excited. Thanks for hosting me today. I can't wait to be on your podcast.
Yes. Okay, so I think when people hear this, they're just like, what? Like, what? What's happening?
Like, yikes, what? What? Gross. I don't want to talk. Everyone's like, periods, no thank you. I don't want to talk about that.
Yes. Okay, stick with us. It's definitely going to be worth it. Okay, so moms, this is going to be awesome. So Alyx, let's just start with how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, so I had learned about the healthy menstrual cycle when I was in college. I had read Alisa Vitti and Christiane Northrup, so women's bodies, women wisdom, or kind of hearing about cycle syncing in terms of eating and our nutrition and our exercise. But I had an IUD at the time, so I was like in one ear, out the other. I don't really think this is that important for me. And then I was in my upper 20s, and I was like, yeah, I'm really ready to get this thing out. I'm ready to understand myself. And throughout that whole time, I had been working in health and wellness, and I went back to school to get my own health and wellness certification. And I started working a lot with women, and I was also tracking my own sales. And I found that I had higher sales during the ovulation phase of my menstrual cycle. And I was like, what? They did not tell me that in business school. Why did they not teach me this in my sales class?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just literally I hear that, my brain can't even process that. I would think if there were, a cycle of sales, that it would be like the time of the year, or maybe related to something you're going through personally. So maybe you had more energy at a certain point, but never dawned on me that you would have better sales during a certain time of the month. So, okay. So then what happened?
Yes, and I found I went looking for anything that would back me up, because I'm like, am I crazy? Am I really having higher sales during ovulation? This sounds so weird. And so
Yeah.
I went into the rabbit hole. I found a study of exotic dancers, and they split them up into a cohort of women on birth control and then women not on birth control. And the women who were not on birth control all made more money during ovulation in tips, up to 30% more than any other phase of the cycle. So
Oh my God.
talk about business use case.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
like 30% straight to the bottom line. Get out of here. What are we talking about? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I really found, and the more I've been in this work over the last 7 years now, is that we've got a really pro social orientation the first half, because our body wants to get pregnant. That's what humans are made for. We're all supposed to be populating the species, right? So even if your brain doesn't want to do that, your body is still sending off cues to the external world, and it's easier to say yes to people. If you're already a mom, you're going to find your parenting is easier and more fun during the first half of the month,
Mm-hmm.
because the way estrogen works with serotonin in the brain, it's just easier to be in a room with loud kiddos when you have more estrogen supporting you and backing you up. Then the
Mm-hmm.
second half of the cycle, very intentionally, our body turns to a pro-self hormonal orientation, because that's when you're protecting a potential pregnancy. So even if your human brain knows there's no way I could get pregnant this month, your body doesn't know that. So it gets self-protective. So our face changes, our nose shape changes. It gets wider at the base so that we can smell things that may
Oh.
disrupt a potential pregnancy, right? Because you don't want to eat something rotten or get food poisoning that could end a potential pregnancy. So our body
Yeah.
is very meticulously designed to go out and get pregnant or to stay pregnant throughout our menstrual cycle. And we do this over and over again because that was the intention. That's how humans evolved to be here. So this is deep from our evolutionary biology that we experience these things. And then you can start to understand from a modern lens, when motherhood with our lack of support is demanding that we show up the same every single day, why we're
Mm-hmm.
all exhausted, burnt out and a little bit frustrated sometimes at trying to have a career, being parents, while all of these changes are going on, especially if you're not even getting supported. This may be the first time you're hearing about this, but like you've got that in like that gut feeling like, oh crap, that's what's been going on this whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder when we don't recognize that it's going on because we just think we're broken. Like, wow, last week was so fun with my kids. Why are they driving me crazy today?
Oh. Yeah, yeah. So moms are just kind of beating themselves up, and there's the infamous mom
Yeah.
guilt and the shame and the,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Okay, so how can we, now that we have this information, what can we do with it? How can we optimize everything?
Yeah, I would love to tell you that the seasonal orientation is a really great one. This is from the UK, from Red School. I did not come up with this, but I think it's really easy if you're hearing about cycle syncing for the first time to digest and to give yourself some pointers in real time. So, our
Okay.
four phases of the menstrual cycle are like the four seasons that we have on the planet. Our menstrual
Okay.
cycle is like our inner winter time. So, we are more internal focused. We may have desire to hibernate, think about warm, comforting food. So think of how you would treat what tools you would use for yourself in the winter. On the external winter, that's what you need to provide to yourself during your period every single month, right? So maybe some more
Mm,
quiet time, some more time alone. And this is the time to dream and vision. So really to sit down with whatever you're
okay.
working on and think about the month to come. The
Okay.
follicular phase is our inner springtime. So this is when the engine revs back up, right? We've got more estrogen coming back online. We are excited. So this is our busy bee time. So I say this is like one of the great worker bees of the cycle. So you want to take the plan that you just made on your period and start
Yeah.
to do the plan in the follicular
Okay.
phase. So go to the meetings, go to the networking, launch something new. This is not the girl to plan your calendar. She should not plan your social calendar because what used to happen to me very predictably every month, I like would come out of my period. This is before this company, obviously, and I was like so full of energy that I would
Yes.
schedule myself I would schedule out the next 3 months full of activities, and then by the time I would get to the luteal phase again, I would
Yeah.
have no energy to do the things I just scheduled for myself, and then I would feel stupid and pissed off that I had scheduled myself
Um,
so many things I didn't want to do. Right?
totally.
We're
That
like,
sounds so familiar.
we fall into it. We fall into that pattern when we're not doing it intentionally because we're like, oh my God, I feel great. I'm on top of the world. We almost
Yeah.
forget that in 2 weeks, we're not going to want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So the follicular phase, she does all of the work. We don't put her in charge of planning our schedule because it just does not go well. Then in the ovulation phase, that's our next phase. This is the shortest phase of the cycle. This is our inner summer time. So this is a time that's hot and potent, and it is great for asking, like getting your husband to book that vacation that he's been putting off. Like you're like very magnetic during this time, asking for
Okay.
a raise at work.
Oh.
Um, family photos, really great time to schedule like pictures for yourself, family photos. If you are an entrepreneur, good time for your branded photo shoot, anything like that during this
Okay.
time. And then the last phase is our inner autumn time. This is the luteal phase. And it kind of has two parts. So the first part is about 8 to 9 days ish. And this is what I call our CEO time. This is like very high energy, but internally focused. So if something's been
Mm,
bothering you, if something's not been going well, something's been getting under your skin, you're going to have tough conversations during this time. And it'll
mhm,
be like you will have a lot of clarity and more directness during this
mm,
phase.
okay.
And it can be when we are even called like nitpicky or like naggy, when we give this phase something to chew on, like our analyzing and organizing, wrapping things up, clearing the clutter, going through that pile of mail you've been ignoring, clearing out your email inbox. When we wrap up all of those projects during this time, when we go through a phase of completion, like we do in autumn time, what do? We harvest, right? We pick the plants, we pick the crops, we pick apples, we store them away for the winter. When we
Mhm,
are honoring that cycle, we don't get as nitpicky to anybody in our lives when we're really getting the
mm,
work done. And then
yeah.
the last 3 to 4 days before your period is kind of like luteal phase two. And this
Okay.
is when our estrogen has dropped, which helps keeps us happy. And our progesterone has dropped, which helps keep us calm. So we can feel very sensitive to the entire world. We feel a lot of
Mm,
things. You may have more tears, you may have more really big sensitive feelings during this time. And that's okay to have that kind of phase with yourself to really see what are the places in my life that need to get tended to. And then you
mhm.
start your period again, everything sheds and releases, and the whole cycle begins anew.
Oh, wow. That was so awesome. That was so awesome. I had no idea really about any of this. I mean, I kind of had the gist, obviously I'm a woman,
Yeah.
but I didn't think of it this way. So when we're thinking about, you know, what you do and how you help clients, like what is it that you offer them when you're working with them?
Yeah, the number one thing that we start to do, because often the same thing that you just said, like I kind of knew, but I didn't really know. Like this
Yeah.
intuitive hit for women is like, man, I could tell something was funky, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So the
Mhm.
number one thing that we recommend for people is to start to track your menstrual cycle. So give
Okay.
yourself 5 minutes a day to do a cycle check-in. You want to see your mood, your energy. So we recommend like starting on the first day of your period, the first day that you need a period product is day that we count as day one. So we
Okay.
count our entire cycle from day one of our period all the way until day one of our next period. So that would
Okay.
likely be somewhere between 25 to 35 days. And it kind of depends on you. And it's going to change as women start to enter perimenopause. But just start tracking. And then when you're counting the days, if you're in a journal or on the Agenda Period app, for instance, or whatever it may be, you can start to see the pattern when you're paying attention because these events. So think about it. We just have
Mm,
each period day one is about 30 days away from itself. So if
right.
you always get a migraine on the first day of your period, sometimes it may be hard to remember that because a whole 30 days have gone by
Yeah.
since your last period. So
Yeah.
maybe it feels random rather than a pattern, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
when we start to take the notes, we can start
Mhm.
to tease out the pattern and then we can get symptomatic relief because different symptoms occurring on the same day or around the same time every month can lead you to an awareness of what support you need in your own body, like what's kind of misfiring in your own hormones. But if we aren't paying attention, if we aren't taking a note of it, it's really hard to connect those dots in space and time because so much happens in a month.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. And I know you do have an app, so we'll get to that in just a second that we can suggest for the women so they can track. Um, the part that I'm so fascinated also, if you could add on any more kind of context, is I work a lot with kind of neuropsychology. Like when I coach, it's called the process I use is called the neuroencoding process. And so, we work a lot with dopamine, and we are kind of have an awareness of like what we call the happy hormones and happy chemicals. But I just didn't ever actually know that there was a connection with those neurotransmitters and the hormones. So is there any other kind of advice, or how else can I use that information maybe in with the moms that I'm coaching or just in my own life?
Yeah, so when we have that, when estrogen kind of starts to fall out during the second half, and women again also start to experience this in perimenopause, they can have more of those symptoms of depression or anxiety because they don't have estrogen there that's working with dopamine and serotonin. And this is
Okay.
even a higher issue for people who have ADHD or any of those
Okay.
kind of like those conditions because
Yeah.
our brains already have, me being a person with ADHD, our brains even
Yeah.
already have a hard enough time like slowing the reuptake of dopamine. And so that's even worse during the luteal phase. And
Oh.
so one of the things is just understanding that this is a biological reality and kind of
Okay.
having that first piece of awareness is really, really important for women to understand like, hey, I'm not going crazy. My body just responds differently to the events of the world depending on where I am at in my cycle because estrogen does different things in my brain. So just understanding that is really key. And then
Mm,
the way to kind of combat for that is all the stuff that we know we're supposed to do in health and wellness that
hmm.
isn't that fun to do.
Okay.
Like drinking water and exercising every day
Uh-huh.
and like not eating hyper-inflammatory foods, especially during the luteal phase, because that can make it our brain that's already struggling. So like a bunch of sugar or a bunch of gluten, all of those, bunch of
Oh,
caffeine, all
okay.
of those different things will compete for our brain's already struggling attention during the luteal phase. So and we also need like it impacts everything. Like we need more calories during the luteal phase. We need about 20% more calories during the luteal
Oh,
phase,
wow. I didn't know that.
and if we don't, it can kick off binge eating, right? Like because our body will have so many cravings.
Yeah.
Like think of like, oh, I'm just like a hungry monster during the luteal phase. I'm PMSing. I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
no, babe, you just need more calories. But because
Yeah.
of diet culture, we think we're like bad and
Oh,
wrong for needing more food during that time.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's just biological because our metabolism speeds up during the luteal phase to help protect a potential pregnancy. Right? So
Mm,
you can see like all of the dots, they're all tied up together. So without like some additional like hormone replacement therapy as people are getting older, like some people have looked at like if you've got a condition, adjusting their SSRI during the luteal phase. There are some doctors now that are getting tuned into that neurobiology and
oh,
that
cool.
neurobiological reality that like women need different medication doses during the second
Hmm.
half of their cycle because their brain is not the same.
Yeah.
Um, and if that's something that's not in your wheelhouse or something you're going through right now, it's really all of those additional lifestyle factors. So we got recommendations for like there are different times of the month where you should focus on different exercises. If women focus on hard cardio all month long, that's going to stress our bodies out and drive up our cortisol response, which will make PMS worse. Like all of these little, we're like a puppet on a string, and it's
Yeah.
all connected back to the menstrual cycle.
And it's so funny because, as we kind of mentioned that everything you said, everything in kind of health and wellness has been designed or geared or the research is used from men. But there's this, we take up actually more than half of the world's population. And
Yes.
so, like, it's just kind of pretty cool now that, like, there's no almost, I guess, you not, I don't want to say 2 days of life, but there's no in these are kind of like little chunks of time, like a few days here. The longer phase you mentioned was 8 or 9 days. And so just the idea that, like you mentioned, like everything is connected, everything is evolving, it's constantly shifting and shaping and all these things. And so when I kind of first heard about you, I almost got like a little overwhelmed, like, well, how the heck am I supposed to incorporate that? So what would you say to a mom who's like, this is way too detailed, because I'm not much of a details person. Like, I leave the details to my people.
Yes.
I have people that do my, nitty gritty stuff. So how could, like, you just, I mean, I think I already feel empowered just talking to you, but instead of a mom like shutting this off and be like, oh my gosh, I can't handle that, who might be overwhelmed, how can we just like make her feel empowered that she can like at least take what she's learned even from just this and kind of go and apply
Yeah.
it somehow?
I think the simplest phrase, so I love talking about the 4 phases, and I understand that it can be a lot to, like, grasp onto, and you're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm only, like" because like, men are hormonally similar every single day, and out of our whole calendar year, women are hormonally similar 13 days, right? Because, like, 1 day in each
Oh,
cycle, kinda
yeah.
like because you're constantly, like, from one day to the next, you're amping up like a roller coaster, like so like
Yeah.
wherever you would slice down and find that date, like that will
Right.
match up with the next cycle on day
Right.
one, but you're not that similar from day one to day two. So it is completely can be overwhelming. And so
Yeah.
that's why we've started to look at it like kind of thinking about the two halves of the cycle. So
Okay.
from day one of your period all the way through an ovulation, most women know about the ovulation. They're like, ooh, I feel sexy right now. You like maybe have the
Yeah.
slip and slide situation when you go to the bathroom, like your libido is up. So
Yeah.
from your period through then, you really it's just know it's easier for me to want to go out and do things for my family. It's easier for me
Mhm.
to be attentive to my husband. I find him sexy and hilarious during the ovulation phase, right? Like that man could tell me anything, and I'm like, look at you taking out the trash today. Like you look so awesome, right?
Yeah.
So just understanding our brain has that pro-social orientation in the first half, and then
Okay.
we get turned inward. We are more pro-self, and this doesn't mean you're bad. This doesn't make you a bad mom. It doesn't make you a
Yeah.
bad woman. It is literally a biological function of your body trying to protect a potential pregnancy. And you can like it or not like it, it's just the reality of the situation. And so
Yeah.
just I think having that understanding of like we're just different because our body is trying to accomplish different tasks throughout our month.
Right.
It's just like a good like okay, it's not all in my
Yeah.
head. I'm not going crazy. This is just how
Yeah.
my body is. This is how my body is.
Yeah, yeah, man, I have so many more questions, but we need to wrap up pretty quickly. So, is there any last kind of like, I mean, I know you kind of alluded to self care. Is there any last tips you want to give on that self care piece, or is there anything else that we should know?
I would just say your cycle is your superpower. It is really this like beautiful way for you to live your life in the world. And so I think that seasonal framework is the best way to kind of consider, how do I wrap myself in self-care? So on your period, a good book in a cozy spot may feel really great. In the follicular and ovulation phase, trying something new, going out with friends as a mechanism of self-care. And
Mhm.
in that luteal phase, giving yourself that time. Like sometimes I find it very soothing in the luteal phase to like go through my craft drawer and put everything back in the right place and sort all the, because like I'm doing something that really is supportive of that phase. And so when you recognize that like nature doesn't have to rush, it doesn't have to have snowstorms in July in order to have enough winter, right? Like
Mm,
everything has a place and everything has a
mm,
season. And when
mhm.
we allow ourselves to slow down long enough to fit things into the right place, everything changes in our life. Everything changes.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I love the idea of the self-care at the different seasons or different times because most people just typically think of self-care as that more inward, bath, relaxing
Yep.
kind, but there's also the element of self-care which is commonly known but we don't think of it in this way, is like, oh, I'm self-caring by hanging out with my friends, I'm self-caring by
Yeah.
doing these fun things. And self-care doesn't have to be at home, it's like out in the world, and like you said, pro-social
Yeah.
and making plans and doing all the things. So awesome. So how can people find the app and how can people follow you?
Check out theagendaperiod.com. That's our clearinghouse. That has got our
Okay.
products on there. It's got a link to the app. If you want to check out other things that we're up to or what we're creating, that's just a really great place to come hang out with us. And we're at The Agenda Period on Instagram and at Agenda Period on TikTok. So I talk about perimenopause, divorce, parenting. We talk about it all. So come hang out with us.
Oh.
We're the tinfoil hat ladies about the menstrual cycle. So come get cozy and come hang out.
I will. I definitely will. I'm super excited. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.